This is how I helped an online coach generate $135,000 in 30 days, closing every single conversation in the DMs. For further receipts, this is the funnel that we built out for him, and these are just some more payments that got received. In total, there are around 100 to 130 clients in a single month, and this is the type of infrastructure that we built out. Now, I'm not going to really go into this infrastructure, that was simply receipts. I want to speak about how making $135,000 in 30 days without the correct infrastructure is incredibly dangerous. What was actually happening behind the scenes that we weren't able to realize, the structural risk, the real bottleneck, what would have made it more stable, the actual turning point in what changed this and what changed my understanding on how to build infrastructure. If you're a coach generating over $20,000 per month with your online high ticket coaching offer, you're generating conversation, maybe 30, 50, 100 plus conversations a month, you're booking 20, 30, 40 calls, but there's inconsistency in your revenue, there's significant volatility in your business, and you're significantly founder dependent, the business cannot operate without you, this video is definitely for you. Even though my client made $135,000 in 30 days, that was so many structural fragilities that we're going to discuss right now. So $135,000 in 30 days. Every single deal was closed directly through the DMs. There was no sales calls, there was no booking process, there was no CRM dashboard, there was no pipeline visibility, there was no forecasting model, no revenue per conversation tracking. I mean, you're a coach who's at 20K per month. The dream is 100K, right? You really work hard, you hustle 24/7 to hit that goal of 100K per month. The objective is two things for you. The objective is to get to that 100K plus and also to stay where you are right now. Because you have no forecasting model, you're just maintaining exactly where you are month by month. The months that go by, they're not about scaling, they're about maintaining the current level you're at. Because yes, revenue happened, but it wasn't engineered, it was purely momentum. Now, why that $135,000 month was structurally fragile, like I say, most coaches dream about making 100K in a single month. I'm telling you, without having the backend infrastructure in place, is so dangerous, and you're gonna spiral out of control. Because conversations happened, these landed into DM conversations, payments were received, but there were so many unknown variables, and your business is probably leaking because of these unknown variables too. Revenue existed, but visibility didn't. And without visibility, you can't optimize. Without optimization, you depend on volume. Volume without structure creates volatility. And this is why we experience volatility in the business. Yes, we had a massive spike to $135,000. Yes, the launch was amazing. Yes, people came into the business, but that wasn't consistent enough, and there was no long-term structure to operating at this level. And this is what the client was experiencing, not knowing how to actually maintain that level, because going backwards in business as entrepreneurs is the worst type of feeling. What we discovered, and the real bottleneck, had nothing to do with attention volume. And this is what most coaches also struggle with. Most coaches focus on generating more attention. That's not the bottleneck in your business. The bottleneck in your business isn't getting more attention, because we built a really incredible structure. The infrastructure that we built, pre-demand architecture, before monetization, there was proof sequencing, transformation stacking, authority positioning, demand containers, lead intent in isolation. The objective was to increase the intent before the conversation began. This was through, if you recall here, this was through the actual Telegram post, building that hype, building that scarcity. That was the model. But ultimately, when you're building a model like this and you're using a type form to bring leads in who are highly intentful, highly qualified, the problem to this was, now there were conversations that were happening, there was belief engineering systems, there was control lead environment, there was transaction control layer. Every infrastructure that I built out single-handedly, it was optimized to lead conversations to closes. That was the entire objective. But because we scaled so fast and the spike was so rapid, there was structural risk. The real bottleneck, it wasn't attention. It was yield compression, because even in DM closing only, yield exists. You have conversations, you qualify those conversations, and then you lead into a paid client. Without tracking, you cannot see leakage, you cannot refine qualification, you cannot optimize conversion, you cannot forecast revenue. Revenue spikes hide inefficiencies in business. And this is the scariest thing about scaling, because when you reach the target that you want to reach, everything feels amazing. You're on that high horse. You've reached the goal you want to reach. And this is a turning point that I realized in business and in building infrastructure, especially with high ticket closing and high ticket scaling, is revenue spikes, they hide inefficiencies in business. They make your business look significantly better than it is. Until tracking was installed, we couldn't measure the conversations per day, the qualified conversation rate, the conversion percentages, the revenue per 100 conversations, the follow-up recovery rate, the capacity limit. Now we could improve yield instead of chasing volume. When you're chasing volume every single month, it's tiring. Having to bring new attention into your business all the time. But there's a better way to do it. And the better way that I learned, and this is my realization when it came to infrastructure and scaling back-end businesses, my realization was that there's two ways to scale. Scaling, number one, is what most 20k plus coaches think about. It's getting more attention into the business, right? More attention, more volume, more content. Or option number two, which most coaches don't actually realize and only the elite do. The elite operators don't always chase volume, they improve yield. So instead of attention volume, it's improving the yield percentages. Once we improve yield instead of chasing volume, the revenue becomes diagnosable, optimizable, and repeatable. The lesson that I learned, that revenue spikes are seductive. They create confidence. They make you think that everything is going well. Because I can guarantee you watching this right now, when you hit your first 10k month, 20k month, that level of confidence you had in yourself, you had a level of aura about you. And this is the same when we were building this infrastructure to 200k plus. You felt untouchable. But revenue spikes are seductive. The real control, the real power in business isn't the revenue spikes. The real power in business is when you feel a level of control. When you have the confidence that you built and you can see your business for what it is, and you can view every single aspect of your business, and you know what you can improve on and the percentages that you can optimize, and improving your revenue yield means your business optimizes at a better performance. So revenue spikes are seductive. They create confidence, but confidence and no control is fragile. Scale to 100k. You can scale and you can generate $135,000 in 30 days. But if you cannot see the machine, you do not control the machine. And if you do not control the machine, you do not control your business. And you have no long-term stability in your business, and control is the most powerful thing. The client outcome was simple. After building the infrastructure, revenue became measurable, yield became optimizable, forecasting became possible, volatility decreased, and founder pressure reduced. He had so much time for himself now that he didn't have before. Scale became controlled. 135k month was no longer an event. It was just life. It just became repeatable. It just became part of the day-to-day, the month by month. Scaling to those numbers and maintaining those numbers because infrastructure was built out as opposed to attention volume. Move your mind away from attention volume and move your mind into improving the yield. As soon as you improve yield, your scale becomes controlled. Now the philosophy behind this, and this is what most operators try to do. They try to scale attention. We scale yield. The old system that was run, and this is how we made 135k in a month, was revenue before momentum. The business was founder dependent, which meant it was based on pressure. It's pressure-based growth. Revenue happened, control didn't. This is the new system. This is what we installed after, and this is how I look at building infrastructure now. This is how I look at infrastructure. To remove the real bottlenecks that we experienced and to remove the structural risk. Real-time pipeline visibility. Really understanding the business, the core. Having a clear overview on what's really happening in every single department. Not just attention. Not just having attention, booking calls, and closing deals. There's so much that goes in between the time when you get the attention to getting the close, and so much leads that are lost. What's your revenue per 100 conversation tracking? Start looking at the conversation that we're having. Per 100 conversations, how many of those book a call? Out of those conversations, how many of those are even qualified? Out of those conversations, how many of those lead to a close? So we understand what the revenue per 100 conversation tracking is, which naturally incentivizes the setter to put more effort in. Define qualification standards. Having clear SOPs so the setter can just execute. SOP driven team execution, conversion rate measurement, seeing the conversion rates, really analyzing the DMs, because I've been doing outreach since 2018. I've diagnosed thousands of DM conversations, generated over $3 million from the DMs alone. So I kind of understand how to actually understand and optimize the DMs, tracking the conversations, optimizing the DMs, and seeing what's working. And this is how I look at infrastructure now. Until you don't install these metrics into your business, you're not going to be able to forecast revenue, because you don't know where revenue is going to come from. Start optimizing yield, and you'll have a better forecast and better measurement of where the revenue is coming from, why it's coming into your business. And as soon as this new system was installed for my client, he went away from pressure-based growth and he went to leverage-based growth. Because I've seen single-handedly the way that revenue becomes so inconsistent, this instability, the pressure of every single month having to go out there and get new attention, having to chase attention. This is when revenue became measurable, predictable, and repeatable. The massive difference between both systems is acceleration without steering became control skill. Momentum became architecture. Revenue spikes became revenue capacity and consistent cash flow. And founder pressure became founder leverage. So what revenue yield actually gives you is real-time pipeline visibility, predictable booking conversation, stable show and close rates, SOP-driven team autonomy, reduced founder involvement, revenue forecasting confidence, structured stability, and ability to scale past 80 to 100k plus per month, and 10 to 20 hours given back, reclaimed by the founder of the business. Most coaches stuck at 20 to 60k per month. They don't need more attention. They need structural leverage. This was my core realization, my core insight into scaling a coach to $135,000 in a single month. Because I look at infrastructure very differently now. I help build infrastructure that decreases pipeline leakage and increases monetary efficiency. We install a revenue infrastructure capable of supporting consistent 80 to 100k months without founder dependency. We do this by identifying and eliminating revenue leakage across your pipeline, increasing revenue per 100 conversation without tracking and increasing attention, 10% plus on every single metric. For example, let's say you're having 120 conversations right now. So this is how we actually help you with scaling. You're a coach, you're having 20 100 plus conversations a month, you're scaling past 20k per month. We identify and eliminate the current leakage and improving your pipeline. Your current conversations, for example, you're having 120 conversations, you're booking maybe 25 calls. Your show rate is somewhat around 60% and your close rate is somewhat around 25%. Now what we do is after we install the revenue architecture system is you have the same 120 book calls or 120 conversations, but now that's 45 book calls. That's a 75% show rate. That's a 35% close rate. That's 2 to 3x revenue without more attention. That's scale leverage. And when we install the revenue architecture system into your business, we target a 10 to 15% structural improvement across your booking, show and close rates, resulting in significant 40 to 60% yield expansion without increasing attention, so that your business actually has revenue infrastructure installation, qualification and monetary efficiency frameworks in line. You have authority layered pre-call nurturing, you have setter and team infrastructure, and forecasting and control scale volume. That's what you call infrastructure. If you want to know more information, you can either DM me privately on Instagram. I'll have my Instagram handle in the link below, or you can simply book a call with me directly. So this is exactly how I help the client scale to $135,000 in 30 days, and why the infrastructure, not glorifying what we did, that's what everyone does, glorifying making these type of numbers. No one's going to really tell you that there was so much structural fragility in the business and how we actually overcame it, so that we built a business diagnosable, optimizable, and repeatable. The lesson from this was that revenue spikes are seductive, they create confidence, but having confidence and no control is fragile. If you've taken anything away, most coaches try to scale attention. The smart coaches, the elite in the business, the elite operators, the ones that do really scale to 80 to 100k plus months, they scale you. Okay, so that's the philosophy and that's how we scale to $135,000. I hope you found value in this video and you've actually taken away some gems. If you do want to get in touch with me and learn about how to actually implement the revenue architecture method and system into your business, link is in the description below, or you can contact me directly on Instagram. I hope you all found value in this video. If you have, make sure you like, comment, subscribe.